Hey everyone. Alright, so I know what you're thinking. What am I doing? Well, I am filming this intro for the top 10 list while driving. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds super dangerous. Why am I doing this? Come on now. Well, what my parents or the police don't know shouldn't hurt me, right? Anyway, I also decided to do this to stick with the theme of this list. I am doing a top 10 list focusing on more subgenres to probably my all-time favorite movie genre in general. And I usually made it seem like it would be comedy because, I am a comedic person. And yes, comedy has defined my life pretty much. However, if I had to pick a personal favorite for what my all-time favorite genre of film is, I think I would have to say adventure. Adventure, in my opinion, creates some of the most interesting and well thought out stories. I mean, it doesn't make movies as memorable as comedies, but it does create for some really engaging and fun type of films. I just think adventure movies are some of the best kind of films to write. So when it comes to writing, I think writing an adventure is always the most fun. But anyway, there are a lot of good subgenres involving adventures. There are all types of adventures that movies will give us. And today we're going to be talking about the most fitting one based on what I'm doing, road trip. Yes, indeed, road trip movies are always fun. Some would argue they fit more into being comedy type movies, but there are a lot of road trip films that don't have to be comedic. It's a fun little genre involving going on this long and chaos of a trip involving driving, flying a plane, or anything like that. And they do make for some really good moments. Kind of why I decided to do the intro like this, because, a road trip is a really fun kind of genre, and that's what I'm doing. I'm driving my car on a road trip. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm not going on a road trip. I'm just on my way to work. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's some really exciting types of films. So I put together my personal favorite road trip movies, and we're going to be ranking them. I won't be doing the whole list while still driving. I'll get to that later. But I just wanted to point out, yeah, I like road trips. So yeah, this list will be based on how fun the movie is at just portraying going on a road trip, like how chaotic the trip is, how much excitement there is in the plot, and just how intriguing it is, like how much I can remember through how the trip plays out. Stuff like that, It should be fun to do, so I better turn this off before the cops see me. There's no cops yet, but alright, let's just get this list started. Favorite road trip movies. Okay, so I know that this is a very silly start. I mean, Harold and Kumar is just beyond ridiculous. But to me, that's what makes it all the more better. This film achieves at taking such a dumb concept and actually making for a hilarious, but also quite enjoyable adventure road trip film. It follows two stoners who see a commercial for White Castle and get super hungry, so they drive to it, but the drive ends up being a long one because the only one they can find is like about an hour away. But that's not all it takes. Also, they have to deal with random stops, including a campus where they get some more drugs. Then they stop at then they get caught up in other crazy stuff, like their car breaks down, they have to stop and get it fixed by some ugly weirdo. Then they pick up a hitchhiker who turns out to be Neil Patrick Harris, uh, who actually plays a hilariously funny, douchey version of himself in probably his most iconic film role to date. And all sorts of other crazy stuff happens on this simple trip to a restaurant. I think it just does the best job at taking such an excessive product placement and actually making it into an enjoyable, well thought out, and pretty hilarious kind of film. One of the best elements is just how much offensive attitude there is with these two, because there's like this one moment where they get arrested and the cop they get arrested by is just beyond racist. I mean, he literally we literally learned that he arrested a black dude for no reason. It's just, and they were able to escape because they thought the black dude was up to something. Anyway, yeah, that whole scene is ridiculous but awesome. And of course, there's all sorts of other crazy stuff that happens. There's a trip out moment. There's just the fact that this all happens in one overnight. Like they do this whole trip overnight. It's not like they're going out to eat in the evening. No, it's just a overnight thing. They go
at night and they get there finally in the morning where they order a shit ton of burgers or sliders, so that's cool. But anyway, yeah, it's one of those kind of road trip films that seems simple and dumb, but makes for such an enjoyably hilarious and very entertaining kind of film because you never know how much stuff can happen when you're just trying to drive some fast food. You could be hungry for McDonald's one night, and then all of a sudden your car gets stolen, and you have to deal with the police and all other sorts of crap. Now, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a film I see many people consider to be one of the most cinematically brilliant films ever. It's usually ranked by some people as one of the best kind of adventure films ever written, and it's a masterpiece of cinema. I don't know if I really would go that far, in my opinion. It was a great movie, and I'll talk about why it's great. I just want to point out right now, I'm not really one of those cinephiles who says that this is one of the best road trip kind of films ever. Though the concept for it is understandably really genius to think about. What this film is these two guys who drink and smoke a lot. They're stoners. Again, talking about more stoners or whatever. But they are so tripped out that they imagine their whole trip to Las Vegas in the most insane, abnormal, crazy kind of way possible. Like they just have these silly, ridiculous visions around them, and we see them, and we kind of have to put together which stuff is real and which stuff is just them being stoned out. And it makes for some pretty interesting plot elements. The plot runs on to some parts where it does seem to wear out at times, and that's kind of why I don't consider one of the best films, and it's only at number nine. But still, the overall idea of it and just the gimmick is pretty amazing, and I can definitely see why people would rank it for that reason. Because yeah, the idea of showing up a road trip to Vegas for two guys who do not see things normally does make for a lot of good visualization moments, and there is some good comedy to it as well. I mean, Johnny Depp is the stoner. That's not someone I would have expected. He's also joined by Benicio del Toro. And there's even a scene involving Tobey Maguire as a stoner, or more so a hippie. Yeah, Maguire's a hippie before he became America's superhero. Anyway, this whole movie just likes to play at you. It likes to tell you, you gotta remember which stuff is real and which stuff you're imagining from being stoned to death. You got to think about it because, yeah, you don't. I don't know if really going on a trip somewhere while stoned out is the best choice. This movie makes it seem like it would be such a fun experience, but really, it's just a whole on mess. Ah, the Muppet movie. I'm just talking about comedies all over the place, aren't I? Yeah, I guess there are a lot of those on this list. The Muppet movie is just such an entertaining type of film to think about. It's one of those movies that I get such great comfort just thinking about. I'm just in love with the Muppets. I've always been in love with them, and obviously their best work to film is their first work to film. I mean, the first ever Muppet movie is still the most memorable, well, not probably the most memorable. Like, I mean, I don't quote it as much as other movies, but it is definitely the most well put together. It's the most well written, the most well paced, and just the most comforting kind of film. There's not too much drama. There's not too much um stuff that we're not supposed to take seriously. I mean, it is full of non-serious satirical moments, but not to the point where you just lose interest in the actual story. The actual story does work its way well in this film. And the overall aspect to the road trip part is what really shines great with this. It's a film about a bunch of Muppets meeting each other in weird ways. We see that they apparently made their way into this world, and they all join together to go on a big trip to Hollywood to become big. Yeah, they have a big road trip to Hollywood where they make random stops to find more Muppets to pick up. It's kind of just one of those drive to Hollywood and then pick up some more people along the way. That's a pretty simple kind of film to go with, but because of how charming, likable, and funny the Muppets are, you really cannot hate this movie. I feel like it's one of those films that feels impossible to want to hate. I mean, you can have problems with it. I'm sure it's not perfect, but honestly, hating on the Muppets just seems hard in my opinion. Just the overall franchise, not like any Muppets film ever. There are those Muppets films that not people would say aren't great on anything, but just the overall franchise, the characters in general, in my opinion, at least, really do create something appetizing for us. The overall idea of these puppets with such great character in them makes stuff like a road trip work so well, and that's why it's on this list. Because such a basic road trip idea of going on a trip to a big city where you pick up other people with you ends up working itself great with how fun these characters are, how great their motives are, and of course you gotta make sure that they have enough time to interact with real humans so we can see them interact with these Muppets and try to be serious with it because that's always gotta be fun for the actors actually trying to take these fellows seriously. It wouldn't be something easy for me to do, I'll say that. But yeah, yeah, I adore the Muppets, and this movie proves pretty well why. Now, Little Miss Sunshine, I feel like really would deserve a better spot on this list. But honestly, there's a lot more movies up here that I just think were a bit better pasted and had a better concept going for it with its road trip aspect. But still, there is a reason it is on the list anyway. This film is a really engaging film with a plot that shouldn't have made it so engaging. What follows is a story of this family, this very dysfunctional family, including a dipshit father, a silent and not very interactive son, a bad influenceful grandpa, and a dream defining daughter, little girl. And they go on this big road trip together because the little girl is entered into a beauty pageant. So they have to go to the pageant, which is far away. So they take a van that ends up breaking down at moments, which they pretty much just destroy throughout this movie. And they all join together to get her to this pageant with such dedication on them. And I think what really makes this movie shine great is that, the idea of taking a little girl to a beauty pageant, again, it really shouldn't be great. You just see it as, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, little girl goes to pageant. Woohoo, she makes it. Everything's good. Her life is complete. She's a princess now. But it's the fact that this is a dysfunctional family who gets enough time to bond with each other, actually resort in better character growth throughout this movie is what makes it so special to a lot of us. I feel like I would have liked it better if the pageant idea wasn't so overstimulated, but still, the movie does work greatly. The family in this movie just have great chemistry. The fact that they're able to get this much out and become such a nicer, more complex, and well put together family after just one road trip to a little girl's pageant really is a satisfying kind of film. It's just one of those feel good movies, satisfying to see play out, and yeah, man, I think it's another one of those films that it's hard to find someone complain about. I mean, there's got to be people, of course, who do complain about it. I mean, not every there's not. I don't think there's a single movie out there with absolutely zero haters. But still, for as far as the people I've met, this movie does a great job at what it sets out to do. Okay, so what do you think of Thanksgiving movies? How many movies do you think about out there? Not many, huh? There really aren't that many movies out there that focus on the holiday, and I can kind of see why. Many people just think of Thanksgiving as the prequel to Christmas. I don't think of it as that, but yeah, in terms of Hollywood, they don't really see Thanksgiving as that great of its own holiday, more so just the precursor to Christmas, the time that they release all the Christmas movies. But anyway, the one time you do think about a Thanksgiving movie, more or less it would usually go to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Because, yeah, this movie is all the right memorable. It's usually considered a Thanksgiving tradition to watch. I mean, I can understand that. The film follows the story of a guy, a family person, man, who has a business trip in New York during Thanksgiving time. And he has to get home to Chicago for his family before Thanksgiving. So he tries to get home, but things go badly when his plane takes a ends up going not how he anticipated. So he ends up having to share a seat with a weird hack guy he meets who likes to sell shower curtain rings and talks to him a lot. He's weird to him, and so yeah, they he has to put up with him. And even after they land, they end up not landing where they were supposed to because of a snowstorm. So now he has to take a long drive to his home. But this long drive has to include um, John Candy's character, because yeah, he's joining along the ride too. And from there, it's just normal business guy has to put up with joyfully talkative shower curtain salesman or something. But here's what really makes the movie great: they're both also likable. This is one of those films that creates characters who you definitely would usually want to find lots of ways to criticize. Like Steve Martin's blatant attitude of being so uninterested, you'd think that's easy to mock. Or John Candy's just overly joyful and talkative mindset would be easily one of those annoying characters you usually aren't a fan of watching. But the thing is, the movie actually makes both of them super likable and perfect for the plot. They both play off each other amazingly. You love both of them. You want both of them to succeed. You want him to get home to his family. You want the other one to have a friend that he can remember. Because they just really share the best chemistry throughout this film. The road trip portion is great because, yeah, like I said, they get on a plane, and the plane part does count, by the way. Not a lot of plane movies on this list, but still. Anyway, so yeah, the plane, they get off on the plane, then they of course have to stay at a hotel, a bad hotel. Then they have to go back on a train to get to home, but the train ends up breaking midway through, so that fails. Then they have to get off the train. Then he has to rent a car, and then he has to share that car with Candy, and then the car explodes, catches on fire, but yet they're still able to drive it. Yeah, they're still able to drive it even after it got on fire. But then eventually the cops confiscate the car for them because it's not safe to drive. So then they catch a ride on this cheese truck. It's a weird way, but afterwards he's able to catch a train normally and gets home safely. Yes, this whole thing actually works out, and man, it's such a beautifully put together film because yeah, these two are likable in many ways. They both have great chemistry, and the fact that he actually does admit to his mistake early on in the film, as opposed to him just constantly being annoying and not admitting anything until the end. No, they actually have a moment earlier in the film where he does admit about how annoying he knows people see him as, and actually flat out admits that he knows how he is, but he likes it. The fact that that plays out immediately lets you know that you are going to love these characters. You don't have to wait to like them. You will like them once you first meet them. You have great, likable characters throughout a road trip. What's more to love? Ah, man, Road to Perdition. I talked about this before and why this is one of my favorite Tom Hanks roles. But let's talk about the fact of this, what this movie plays out for when focusing on being a road trip film. It's not a comedy like the other ones I talked about. This one is a serious film involving a very dangerous man who has a son, and he has to take his son on this road this road trip with him. But of course, he's not a safe man to be around. Usually, he's a very dangerous kind of person. He's tough. He's not really all around the best influence, but regardless, the kid is forced to join him on in the car, and yeah, he pretty much has to tell himself: does he want to continue how he is, or should maybe, I don't know, he should actually think about his decisions and become a better father. It's like a mob type of guy. It's one of those mob gangster stories, but this time the mob gangster actually has motive. I mean, okay, there are a lot of those, but this is one of the best examples. It's like you see him, and during this entire trip he takes his son on, it's the whole time you're actually really getting better with him. You're starting to like him. You wouldn't think you should like him because he's bad, but then he turns out to actually have a good heart at a point. And yeah, because of Tom Hanks's great acting skills, he becomes a likable person. There really is a road to perdition. I mean, the title couldn't have said it better itself. All right, back to the comedies. It's a mad world. It's a lot of mads. Is a pretty easy to understand type of plot, but it is in fact a 3 hour movie. 3 hours. That's insane for a comedy. It was the '60s. And apparently, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the first ever ensemble cast films. Yeah, this is one of the first films to feature such a giant cast in it. This film follows the story of a bunch of guys who learn about this safe that features this briefcase. Actually, it's not a safe; it's a briefcase that includes so much money. It's like over $10,000 or 20,000, somewhere really high up, but below a million because it was the '60s. But anyway, they when they all learn about it, they all actually go on this long journey to each on their own to try and retrieve it first. It's a race kind of film. They all have to get the money first. Whoever gets it first gets to keep it because that's what they're up for. But anyway, yeah. From there, of course, it's just crazy hijinks they all get themselves into during this mission. There's a guy trying to fly a plane. There's a guy who gets his car stuck in the lake. It's just madness because they all have one goal on their mind: that money, and that money ends up putting them in all sorts of crazy trouble. Again, it's super long, like 3 hours long, even. It's even over 3 hours, actually. But it is pretty cool because the whole time they spend on the actual time consuming for the idea of what happens when they all try their hardest to get one briefcase of money. So it's kind of like one of those real time films. It plays out the time for it, so um you can play along with what happens in the right time here because I guess it really does take this long for all of them to try to get their way to the island where the briefcase is. The fact that no one else found the briefcase and only they know about where to get it is interesting, but it does make for a well put together type of comedy, and I can appreciate it for how revolutionary it was for comedies at the time. Probably not super revolutionary, but still. It's a really great film. It took some time to appreciate because of how long it is. But once I finally was able to appreciate it enough, I do have to say, it is a great one. Ah man, Almost Famous is just such a really ingenious film. It's one that I just really feel always like going back to. This film follows the story of a young boy who wants to become a journalist and manages to find a band that he actually um is able to journalize. So he joins them on the road to be a journalist for them and an interviewer. So even though he's like 14 years old or so. But yes, the film actually does do a good job at kind of showing off what it's like to be be child famous, even in such a ridiculous role. I mean, the role of becoming a journalist isn't something you would expect a child to have, but he does have it here. And yep, he manages to make it work because he falls in love with another chick who's part of this road, this like, I think it's, what are they called? A tour. Yeah, it's a tour, of course. He's journalizing them during a tour. He's super young, but he's able to do this. He's able to party with them. He's able to get good along great with them. And it's just satisfying to watch from beginning to end. So much drama, so much great chemistry with them all. Just seeing how much fun can go on a tour. You'd think that tours for bands are always work, 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 but you definitely do need to remember that there always is enough time to get to enjoy each other's company. And I think that's another thing that Almost Famous does a great job at proving. Even in such the busiest schedules, you still have enough time to really like each other. So like yeah, man, I just feel so much satisfactory watching this kind of film play out. Alright, so I have talked about Thelma and Louise before, as well as why I love the road trip idea. So really I don't know how much more I can say. I guess I can just go ahead and run her up pretty well why I love this movie. It's two friends who try to take a nice normal field trip, and this trip ends up resulting in them becoming obsessed with criminal activity. They just become dangerous women who are now all for robbing places and causing other cars to literally explode. They just become dangerous women after one road trip. Yeah, I gotta tell you, that's amazing to watch. I love those kind of movies that can give us a dangerous character to root for. I've talked about it before, but yeah, any movie that focuses on someone who's dangerous, but we actually need get to be focused on. is always a joy to watch for me. And this movie does great with that. It starts off with them just being normal, innocent women, but as soon as they become dangerous during their road trip, just immediately through they become ready to for bad activity. And yeah, then the trip becomes more dangerous and serious till it eventually ends with them actually just driving over a cliff. Do they make it or not? Who knows? I won't say too much because I've already spoiled it enough. But anyway, yeah. I mean, would this ever happen to me if I go on a super long and super thought provoking type of road trip? Who knows? It hasn't happened to me yet, but with how many road trips I have planned in the future, I can't say too much. I don't know. Still, man, it's such a beautifully done road trip film. I think it's probably the mascot of road trip movies, in my opinion. In that case, why is it not number one? So I put Into the Wild at number one because I don't know how much I talked about this movie. I love it to death. It is amazing film. This film focuses on a guy who literally takes no has literally I he has no resistance. He is not at all afraid to just become part of the wilderness. This is a true story, by the way. Let me let that sink in. A true story about a man who actually is just ready. He has no hesitation. He's not scared. He's just all dedicated after graduating high school to live in the wilderness. So he takes his long journey to the wilderness, and along the way he meets up with a bunch of friends. Some he gets acquainted with, some he helps out, and once he finally makes it to the wilderness, he just chills where he does and writes about what he's been going through throughout his life, and slowly has to die by himself in his one area. Just the way the whole movie plays out. I mean, it's not a lot of driving as much as it is walking places, but he does catch rides at points. Still, though, his journey really makes for something interesting. It's not the most relatable journey. Like, I'm not one who thinks that living in the wilderness is better than real life. I'm also not saying it's that, but still, I mean, this you could argue this guy's making a pretty stupid decision. Though it's also a decision that he knows is worth the effort for. There's nothing wrong with trying it out. There's nothing wrong with seeing if a man could just enjoy life in the wilderness and not become corrupted as a businessman or any other type of big financial career or whatever. But along the way, he ends up meeting so many people. He gets well acquainted with so many people that once he makes it, he realizes, yeah, man, maybe living in the wilderness isn't something a human will really be great at. I mean, he's not terrible at it, but obviously he can't survive it good. So he just dies by himself, no one around. It's a pretty sad movie, but I really adore it for that reason. I just think such a silly premise is done with such beautiful exposition. There's a great sense of chronologicalness to it. The um the way it's pasted is what I'm trying to say is pretty great. It's him. We like see him take this long journey with meeting new people, but we also cut the moments of him there already. We're already shown him what how he's living in this wild, while we're still in the midst of seeing how he gets there. It's one of those kind of movies, and I do love how it's played out this time because we're kind of shown what's going to happen. We're like, okay, doesn't seem like he's really liking this. I wonder why that is. And then from there, we're shown what he goes through during this adventure and maybe explain to us why he's not happy now. I don't know much more to say. I guess we could also point out how lucky this guy is that there was a school bus he can camp out in. Imagine if there wasn't. The fact that there was an abandoned bus that he was able to camp out in is amazing. I mean, usually you don't find that in the wilderness, but he did. So he's lucky. He's one of the lucky ones. Alright, I've said enough. I love this movie. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's one of my favorite movies ever, actually. I said it. I actually rank this among one of my favorites.